see this later. Yeah, if you all want to start by, someone wants to start introducing themselves, what they do, that you can think of it as your 30-second pitch if you want to, but I'm not going to be timing you. I know last time I kind of did, but this time we won't be doing that. Just introduce yourself, have fun. Who wants to start?
I can start.
Awesome.
My name is Julie, and I'm a brand strategist for Coaches.
Pretty simple. What do you do for Coaches?
So I help create like their brand strategy and brand identity, and kind of help figure out what they want to show in their branding, like whether like their mission and their values and all of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
More coming.
And thank you for volunteering to go first. And Julia started out as kind of like a general, I've known her for a few months. She started as a general VA, as a lot of VAs start out, not really knowing what to specialize in. And then she ultimately specialized in brand strategy and has gotten her first couple of clients. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
She's also in my mastermind with me right now. So awesome. And who wants to go next? Who wants to introduce themselves next? Super chill. No pressure.
I do.
All right, Sarah.
Okay, so my name is Sarah, and well, basically, I help my clients find leads and find clients for their business through organic marketing strategies only. So I don't use any paid ads, I don't use bots, I don't use anything that people generally don't like. I just find them, I connect with them, and I get to know them. So that's what I love doing. I love connecting with people.
She actually does my engagement for me. So some of you all who maybe have been talking to me, you might have actually been talking to her for some of it. It's not even a lie.
Well, I guess I'm busted, but
she's busted. She's the one behind the camera. No, I've actually known her for almost, I think it's been 6 months now, 6-7 months.
Yeah, I think so.
For a while now, since the beginning. All right, thank you for introducing yourself. Anyone else want to go next?
I can go.
Awesome.
First, I'm gonna say that I kind of changed things up from the last time, because I'm ready to niche down. So I'm Kimberly of Kimberly J Marketing Services. I'm 29 years old and disabled with 10 years of QuickBooks experience and general administrative experience. I offer QuickBooks management, email management and response, and proofreading.
Awesome. So yeah, this hasn't really changed a little bit since we last talked.
Just a little bit. I got rid of my customer support and a few extra things.
Awesome. Well, good for you. Keisha, it looked like you wanted to go next.
Yep, I can go. I'm Keisha. I'm a virtual assistant. My niche is like event planners, designers, like pretty much anybody in like the wedding industry. The services I offer are like Pinterest management. I can do Facebook ads, email management, just some general tasks like that. And then also event tasks like venue research, finding vendors, travel, stuff like that.
Awesome. Have you worked with some event planners so far?
I haven't yet. Actually, I haven't had my first client yet. I'm still working on that. But I did this event planning certification earlier in the year. So that's how I kind of got some experience with that.
Awesome. Well, you're definitely going to get your first. I know as events are starting to be more and more, like people are going to start doing more events. That'll probably come back. So.
Right.
Awesome. Anyone else want to introduce? Oh, hi, Jody. Just like you were there. And Sierra, there she is.
Hi.
Want to introduce yourself?
I'll go. Can do. Oh, yeah, someone else go first. That's okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm all over the place, and I was on my phone because my monitors are doing what they want. Yeah, so I'm Sierra. I am a virtual assistant, and I recently niched down, thanks to my girl. We decided that I'm going to be a VA for the dogpreneurs. So I'm going to help dog-related small businesses. That's just because I'm super passionate about that, and have a good amount of knowledge. So I offer social media management, email management, project management, and general admin. So those are my four that I like to stay within.
I'm
So, yeah.
so excited. I'm so excited you niched into that.
Yeah.
You're really happy when we did that. I think it's gonna
I'm
be super
excited.
cute. You also have a really cute dog, Bruno, right? Is that the name?
Yeah, he's outside. He was in here and he's eating his like Kong toy, so I didn't want him munching and crunching in the back.
Oh my goodness, that's so much fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun. And how's your market research going so far?
Good. I have a few people that filled out my survey, and just kind of through research, I have a good amount of content planned as well, so how I can appeal to them. So good. Everything's good.
Love it. All right. Jody, you want to go next?
Yeah, go for it. Well, I'm Jodie. I am over in the UK. I am totally useless, and so I think I've missed like all of the meetings that Domi's had scheduled. Bless her. So I've been playing catch up everywhere. I have very much just sort of been general VA advertised. I'm trying to niche down. I've got I'm doing some free work for some people at the moment, and they're all in the beauty industry. So I think that's probably what I'm going to niche into. I've started doing some market research with them and getting them to send it over to their connections in the beauty industry as well. But I think the way I'm going to be going with it is sort of like the online management of their business. So if they don't have a website, I'll be helping them with their Facebook page as their business page, helping with their social media like their Instagram and getting their content out there, email management for those that have it. But I think a lot of the girls that I have, they've got like a booking system which have it in there, so I'll probably be helping support with that. But I'm just all over the place at the moment, trying to get myself like in a nice routine. But
relatable. I think that's relatable for a lot of us, right? It's so easy to get caught up in all these details, but the idea is you got to kind of focus it in.
yeah.
But that's what you're in the mastermind for. So she's also someone in my mastermind. So super excited. Yeah, so I think the only people we have left are we have Gabriel, Erica, and then Kayla and Katie.
So my name's Gabrielle. I'm also a virtual assistant. Same as Keisha, I have the same niche. I'm like into wedding creatives and event planners. I haven't, I haven't had my first client yet either. In that niche, I've worked with like a lot of like people that I know personally. Not a lot. I have like 2 clients, but they're both like friends of mine who have like businesses, and like they have a lash business. And a personal trainer. So I'm like doing some social media and web design stuff for them, but I'm really trying to like hone down my strategy to relate more to like the niche and the target audience that I'm going for. So that's my current goal right now. But I've only been doing this for about a month and a half, so I'm definitely in the beginning stages. So it's nice to network with all of you and hear from other people's ideas and their own perspectives too. It's great.
Congratulations on starting. A month and a half is still very new.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like I've learned so much in like a month and a half. It feels like a lot longer, but it's been really fun so far.
You'll be surprised. In 6 months' time, you'll be you'll be way farther ahead and be like, wow, I can't believe I ever didn't know about this.
Yeah.
That is what it seems like. Super impressive. Awesome. Erica, you want to go next?
Yeah. Well, hi, I'm Erica. I'm still in high school, and I just barely started like getting into the BA thing. So yeah.
Awesome. Wait, yeah, because you probably just started. And so yeah, it's all completely new, but don't worry. It seems overwhelming. It works. It'll work out. It does work out. Take it one step at a time. And you do have support here with other VAs and of course with myself. So
thank you.
Awesome. Yes, Julie says, how exciting, Erica, in the chat. By the way, there is a chat. If you guys ever want to, someone else is talking, you want to say something, you can put it there. We're not talking over each other. And Kayla and Katie, they're sharing the same screen. They're the roommates. I know they said that they're currently eating lunch. What is it? So they'll hop on video in a bit. They're eating lunch. Do you guys want to, Kayla, Katie, want to introduce yourself without the camera, or just wait on that till later? See if they'll respond. And we'll wait on them for a little bit. Anyway, So today we're going to talk about the theme for this event. Yeah, they'll wait. That's good. That's what I was waiting for. That's what I figured. But so the theme for today is your best self. So I'm the authenticity coach, right? I like talking about authenticity. So that's pretty much what this is going to be about. We're going to talk about authenticity. And more specifically, there's going to be a concept called practical authenticity. Now, I'll kind of get to that a little bit later. I've talked about it a little bit on my social media. So we'll get to that. But I'm going to start sharing my screen so I can share the presentation. And I am going to be stopping quite a bit to get answers from you all. So just be prepared to actually engage. And that's the sheet, wrong thing. Bam. Let's go. So first of all, if you don't know me, I know most of you do. I'm Dami, I'm the authenticity coach. Yes, that's me. Yes, I photoshopped sunglasses and a basketball myself just to make myself look cooler. I did start out as a trained journalist to become an admin assistant somehow. And then I became a YouTuber and a small YouTuber community leader for a few years. And then I became a VA copywriter. I did a lot of things. And now I'm a coach. Yeah, I've been through a lot of transformations. So it's not unusual to go through transformations. I want you all to know that, yes, it's going to happen. You're probably going to switch something up at some point, and that's okay. It gets you closer and closer every time to where you want to be. That's fine. But what I do is I help VAs go from being the overwhelmed, people-pleasing, cookie-cutter, like right-hand VA, as you might call them, the assistant, to a boss-ass leading lady and visionary. I love talking about vision. I talk about that a lot, vision and goals. I love talking about authenticity, of course. I love getting people to reflect, and I just love having fun and getting people to have fun. So that's a lot of what I'm about. Just want you to know who I am before we get into all of this. So bam. You probably already done some of this, but feel free to type in the chat if you want to, a little bit of fun stuff about you. If you didn't, add yourself to the networking spreadsheet. I would love for you all to connect with each other and get to know each other and actually talk to each other, because yes, I'm a coach, and yes, there are VA coaches out there who can help you, but some of the best help you're going to get are from people who are doing the same thing as you or are in the same position as you, because they understand what it feels like at that current moment. So I do want to put that out there. What does it mean to be authentic? So I'm going to stop sharing in just a moment, but I want you all to kind of share what you think authenticity means in the chat, or unmute yourself and share your thoughts. I would love for someone to unmute themselves. And who wants to share what they think being authentic means?
You mean in the chat or
just... Oh, and yeah, unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, being authentic, I think can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. To me, it means like showing up as who I am and what I believe in, the core values that I believe in, and showing up without apologizing for anything, like showing up unapologetically as your true self, and without feeling like you have to hide any part of yourself because someone might think, oh, okay, so this is not relatable to me. But if you show up, I believe that if you show up as your true self, even if you, I mean, I swear like a sailor, and people who know me, they know that. And I know that a lot of people don't like that, but they're not my people. And those are not the kind of clients that I want to work with. So those who do get it, they will stay in my kind of zone, and they will get that this is just who I am, and I don't mean any offense by swearing. It's just who I am. So I show up as that, and it's something that has taken me years personally to learn to do that, and to just not care what people think. It takes a lot of work, inner work, definitely. Yeah, which can be uncomfortable.
Also takes practice, right? Like you have to kind of practice being super uncomfortable, like practice you practice not caring, because you can't just not care out of nowhere. You're gonna care for a while.
I mean, when I was 17, 18, I was a people pleaser. I cared. And I was like, oh no, what is she going to think about me? I was like, I don't know. I mean, after I turned 25, I was just like, why do I care? Why do I care? And so that's how I'm showing up now. And I want more people to be able to do that as well. Just not care.
I love it. And I love that you're okay with like, and I do curse a lot. It's just kind of a thing. Like I literally wrote my title, since I'm boss ass leading lady. Like, come on. It's something that for some reason has just kind of stuck with me, and I stopped caring about it. But it does take a while, because there are people around you, your family, whoever, being like, oh, you shouldn't post that on social media. Oh,
Ooh.
you like, that happened a lot. I think I had a swimsuit once that had like the word fuck on it. And I remember my dad, he wasn't on Instagram, but he was like, I heard from so-and-so that you posted this picture with that word, on your swimsuit. And he's like, I don't think you should have that there. And I took it down because I was like, oh, he's really upset about it. I should take it down. But then later I ended up putting it back up, because I was like, and he's not going to notice if I just, unarchive it and put it back up, right? But it was, stuff like that where it was like, why did I care so much? He wasn't even on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like most of my family was not. I don't even know who he heard it from, frankly. So that does happen. All right. Anyone else want to share what, I guess, authenticity means to them, or maybe what they've been doing to be more authentic?
To me, authenticity is just being comfortable being your true self, like Sarah was kind of saying. I was a lot more authentic back in high school than I am now. I never cared what anybody thought. I was the girl you would see showing up to school in the corset bustier and torn fishnets with combat boots. But I kind of lost that after my car accident, and I've been trying to get it back. Although being 29 and wanting to dress like that's not.
I mean, why not?
It doesn't quite fit. It doesn't quite feel like me completely anymore. But that's where I kind of.
Yeah, I mean, at this end, I think it's something, also when you move into different stages of life, sometimes things change and we have to kind of relearn it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you move into adulthood and all of a sudden there's new people who can judge you, and they somehow matter more, or something like that, or something else happens and you realize, you feel like you need to listen to different people. And
yeah,
it does happen. I feel like most of us as very young kids have that sense of authenticity, and then it kind of gets, snapped out of you. At least that's kind of what happens to a lot of people, unfortunately. Anyone else want to share kind of with, there you go, Sierra.
Yeah. So just to kind of make a point of like the comfortability, is just like really always, I might have to mess around with my words. So like, yes, staying in your comfort zone, like things that are comfortable, that you're comfortable doing. So like cussing, like fuck that, like just do it if that makes you comfortable, and like working with people who do that, and then always trying new things and trying to always remember that no matter what you do, you are your foundation. So I'm like a very big on like, you can't be happy with other people unless you're happy with yourself. So like being authentic and genuine is always taking care of that core foundation and what you love and what you want to do and your passions, and just remembering that like you can't take care of other people unless you take care of yourself. So being authentic is that if you're passionate, like just remember where your passion comes from, and always like giving yourself credit and things like that.
I love that. That sounded like an inspirational TED Talk or something. When's your next TED Talk? I've been waiting for it. That's a great way to look at it. And I think I love that you and Sarah and like we all kind of talk a little bit about being uncomfortable, because that's going to come up. That's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
Because I do think a lot of people look at authenticity and think it should feel easy. They think, like, if I'm authentic, it should feel good and easy right away, which is not the case, unfortunately. But yeah, anyone else want to share their thoughts? Anyone else have additional thoughts? Jody? I see you waving your hand.
Like a school, isn't it? Pick me. I think mine just sort of follows off from what Kimberly was saying about how she was like authentically being herself at a different stage in her life, and now she's trying to figure out like exactly who she is now. I think for me, authenticity as well, it's like things change, like things happen and you change. So it's okay that your opinions change, because I think so many people judge you. Like for me, I've always said since I was a kid, like I can remember earliest days, like I always said no marriage and no kids. And for me, that was probably because my parents got divorced and there was 2 young kids. So I was like, oh God, I don't want that. So no marriage, no kids for me. And I've said it all my life. And I remember, oh my God, like maybe 5-6 months ago, I made a comment about being married or having a child. And it was like, oh, well, you can't do that because that was the decision that you have made. I was like, yeah, but like free will is so amazing. And like, I can change my mind if I would like to. So it's okay that things change. And if you have an opinion and something changed, like, screw you, I don't need to explain myself to you. If I want to change my opinion, I'm gonna change it. So like,
Yeah.
that sounds like a problem. Like, go away.
Oh, quick, I just thought it when you were saying that, it made me think of have any of you guys heard of Jenna Marbles on YouTube?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's like the penultimate example of this, right? Like she was perfectly authentic back in the day of like, the 2012,
My whole
2012 or
middle
whatever.
career. Her
What?
YouTube channel was my whole middle school career, high
It's
school.
it's been mine for forever.
Yes.
Forever.
That's so
But
funny.
but she grew into a different person, and she talked about it all the time, being like, yeah, that was me, and I don't really like who I was then, but it was me, and now I'm this, and it's changed. And everyone wants me to be this person from then, but I don't want to do that because now I've changed. So I always thought that it's it's kind of a similar thing. Like we're allowed to change. Authenticity is not, it's not stagnant. It's not like this, you are one person your entire life. Like, that is not true. But anyway, let anyone else have thoughts to share? Again, anyone else have thoughts on this? Want to share their stories? We're all sharing stories here. Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up where my parents also got divorced and then remarried. And then my mom remarried another time. I moved to a million different places. I was shy as heck. I couldn't speak ever. I basically didn't speak. I was always in my head. I cried a lot. And I just didn't know how to say what I was feeling. And, thankfully, I look back and I realize like I have changed. Over time, I've been able to actually speak my mind and not be so worried about what other people think. So I can actually be a little more myself, and it feels a ton better. It's not perfect, but it feels a ton better. So I'm going to share my screen again to move on. Let's see if I can, okay, well, it's not letting me. So yeah, this is something that I see a lot with people when you just think authenticity, especially in terms of like how you're showing up. Everyone always thinks of this it's who I am right now. It's about not faking or pretending, not pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being true to your inner values and beliefs. And it's not that these are wrong. It's just that they're missing another part of authenticity. And so I'm going to so this is a little concept I like to call practical authenticity. And I'd love to hear either in the chat or just thoughts on what people think practical authenticity means. So if what everyone else thinks is authenticity is about who you are right now, at this current moment, what do you think practical authenticity is? Anyone want to share? See if there's any. Oh, I'll move on real quick. So this is the thought process of this. So practical authenticity is basically the concept that combines the yous at different points in life. In particular, it's who you were, who you are, and who you'll be. In one of my posts, I talked about it being present and future, but I've recently sort of incorporated the past into it. And again, the idea being that you're taking the yous from these different points and kind of combining it into one at this moment so you can grow. So if you noticed when I was, kind of promoting this event, it said your best self. I talk about how authenticity isn't about stagnation, it's about growth. So this sort of authenticity is about growing. It's about getting uncomfortable. It's about doing the things that maybe you don't necessarily think are you at that current time, but could be you. So like I was saying, puts the focus on growth. So rather than only considering who you are right now, being like, oh, this is me, you consider how you've already grown, changed, and developed. So you look back and be like, oh, well, I've changed. So kind of like we were kind of doing now, whether it's for better or for worse. Maybe you've changed in a way that you don't like. that's possible as well. How you want to grow, change, and develop. So who you want to be in the future, basically. And then who you are versus who you are not. I'm going to be really emphasizing this today. And we're going to talk about this because this is something that's going to come into play in your VA business as well. I always love talking about the not part of things because knowing who you are not is setting boundaries. It's setting boundaries on your life and knowing that, you know what, I'm not going to be the person, and that's okay. I don't have to be everyone. I don't have to be all the good things. But it's also going to come into play in your business where you're deciding, well, what type of VA am I not? Like maybe I'm not the aggressive go-getter VA, or maybe I'm not the passive do anything for you VA. Maybe I'm not the person that does your social media. I'm not the person that does graphics. I'm like, this is the kind of stuff as a VA that's really important to identify because otherwise you're very general. You're trying to do everything. But like I said in another post, if you try to be someone for 12 different people, you're going to lose to the 12 people who are someone for one person because they're specialized, and the people that you're aiming for are going to want to go with the person who knows the most, who is the most in their element. So this is a reason why I always encourage people to niche and or specialize, because it does kind of help you recognize, what do I not want to do? And it doesn't mean you can't, like someone comes up to you and wants you to do something else, doesn't mean you have to say no. Just, it's more for your marketing purposes and for clarity. So, anyone have any questions on this, by the way, or any thoughts that came to mind?
You know, it's funny that you say that about niching down. I always thought about it like, if you have to see a doctor about something, I mean, you wouldn't want to go to a general doctor if you're having a problem that should be fixed by a gynecologist, right? So it's kind of like they're niched down in specific, they specialize in specific areas, and that's why they're good, are basically my thoughts. And that's why when we work online, that's what makes us good. I started out as a social media manager, a very general one as well, but I figured out that I really love doing the actual engagement and the lead generation and connecting with people. And I found I only started specializing in that 2 months ago, and I'm booked out. Yeah, that's how quickly it can go when you niche down. And I would have never thought that I would be here today, but it's just my 2 cents that if you really niche down, you will be booked out eventually. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think similar thing happened to Julie here, who's like, she started getting clients after she really like specialized.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I'm starting to think that maybe I might have to limit how many people I take and start a wait list because I have a lot of people that are interested. So
it's a good problem.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good problem. Yeah.
That is awesome. And I love that. And I actually talked with someone else. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to like go into an exercise specific skill. I think I talked to someone about how like she really wanted to do everything. And so I was like, well, you could brand yourself as the do everything VA, but you have to be really strategic about it. And you have to be really like out there, like this is what you are. So it's one of those things too, right? So that's why we're talking again about this authenticity thing. It does build into business, and we'll get more into that later, but knowing who you are not helps you figure out that side of the business. And knowing how you want to change, grow, and develop helps you figure out your vision. Knowing how you've already grown, changed, and developed kind of gives you a framework from which to kind of work with, like this has worked, this hasn't worked, or this is kind of, I don't want to be on this path anymore. So all of this is really, really important. So this is why it's called practical authenticity. It's because it helps you grow and it helps you get to where you want to go. And it pushes you out of your comfort zone, which you have to be. So let me keep going. So this is kind of the main issues I have with like the regular idea of standard authenticity that I've seen. I'm going to explain these too. People will use that, like them being authentic, as an excuse for their own poor behavior and attitude under the guise of authenticity. So that's something I see a lot of people being like, well, this is just how I am. Well, this is that. And it doesn't that's not how it works. You can't excuse poor behavior and attitude for just like, that's just how I am. So this is again why this is practical authenticity, because there comes a point where like, yes, you do have to consider where you're going to go, and you do have to consider possibly changing yourself. So we don't want to use our authentic selves as excuses. So that's an important thing. So if you start to notice yourself doing that, you start to notice yourself being like, well, this is just how I am. Stop right there. I want you guys to stop right there. That's really important. The other issue I see is people, they'll think about who they are right then, and they'll tend to subconsciously present themselves as who they want to be. So this kind of comes across as a lack of awareness. So it'll be people who will like almost what ends up happening is they kind of pretend to be someone else without realizing that they're pretending. Because they haven't fully recognized that that isn't the person they are right now. That's the person they want to be, and they're doing it all wrong. This one's a more complicated one to understand. It's easier to understand when you see other people doing it. But you'll see a lot of people coming across as inauthentic and fake, and they'll be like, no, this is just who I am. But internally, you'll be like, no, this is actually who I want to be. I'm just pretending to be this. And it's tiring. That's the problem. That's when you'll know when you're doing something and it's exhausting. It's like utterly exhausting. You'll realize it's not real. And that's something and I'll give an example from my own life. I am not a super extroverted person. I tried to present myself as that sort of person for a long time, and it always exhausted me. And I kept being like, God, like, I thought this was who I was. I'm the bubbly person. I'm the friendly person. But then I later realized, I'm like, no, like, yes, I can present myself in that way, but that wasn't who I was. This is in the past, by the way. It wasn't strictly who I was. It's who I wanted to be. So I had to go into stuff like that with the mindset of being like, I'm not pretending. I'm going to, in these social settings, I'm going to sit back and observe like I usually do. I'm going to make myself uncomfortable sometimes, but I'm going to recognize that it was uncomfortable. And I'm going to reflect on that afterwards. And I'm going to be like, is this really what I want? And then in some cases, I realized, no, it's not. This particular thing isn't what I wanted. So, example, I wanted to be a singer for a while. Realized that wasn't me. Okay. It's just not me. I'm not a performer. I came to terms with that. And now I accept it because I'm just like, look, I'm not that person. I'm the behind the scenes person. And I love that. So it's stuff like that. It's a really hard concept to understand, but it's something to kind of keep in mind. And then the other thing, which we talked about before, is you believe authenticity should feel comfortable and easy and should make you likable. That's the big one, is the making you likable thing. Everyone thinks when they're being authentic, they're like, oh, well, if I'm authentic, that means people are going to like me. No. It's usually the opposite, actually, when you're being your authentic self, which is what you'll realize when you try to be authentic and you're scared about it because you're scared of people not liking you. Bam, there it is. Yeah, so a lot of people, because they think it should feel comfortable and easy, they think it should make them likable. And that's why people will sometimes trick themselves into thinking they're being authentic when they're not, because people like them. And they're like, oh, that means that this is a good place for me to be. Not always true. So always kind of dig deep into like what you're really feeling and thinking. If you're getting exhausted, tired, overwhelmed, stressed from certain things, that's usually a sign that something's not right. So if you think it is and that happens, reevaluate. Just reevaluate a little bit. See what you really think. Any thoughts on any of this? Anyone have anything to share? Any questions? Going good so far? Okay, awesome. If you guys have any questions, by the way, feel free to pop them in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt me. That is totally fine. The benefits of this practical authenticity is, like we were talking about before, you're not set in stone. You can change and you can mold yourself into whomever you want to be at any given time. You could all of a sudden be like, okay, you know what? Being a VA was like really, or being whatever you are, was really authentic to me at this time. It felt really good, but now I have a new dream. I want to be a farmer. Yeah, I'm going to go do that now. Like, you know, it's stuff like that. Like, you are not set in stone. You can always change, and it's okay to change. And that thought actually gets easier to understand and accept as you get older. It's actually a thing. The benefit too is that you're going to have to confront those demons, those fears, those beliefs, those values of yours because it helps you achieve that freedom that you want. It's not just getting the job, like, being a VA or being a successful VA or coach that gets you the freedom. It's confronting all of this stuff that actually does, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck in this endless loop of stress and you're going to wonder why it's not working, even though you're earning the money you wanted to earn. So you'll have a much clearer path towards your goal. So clarity, like we were talking about, and you're gonna be able to identify your priorities, also clarity. So I'm gonna kind of go through some examples of some of this. I wrote down literal examples of some things I was thinking of. So I'm gonna kind of read them out loud, just in case you are on your phone or whatever and can't read this. But anyway, an example is Cassie likes to wear makeup because it makes her feel confident, but she wishes she could feel confident without it on camera and in public. So the important thing to understand here is that she wishes she could not wear makeup and feel confident without it. I'm not going to say that not wearing makeup is authentic. This is Cassie's world, right? So with the general authenticity, she might neglect her desire to be accepted without makeup in favor of how makeup makes her feel right now. She knows that when she puts on makeup, it makes her feel confident. And so to her, she's like, this is me. Like, I feel confident when I wear makeup, therefore this is me. And so getting on camera with makeup feels authentic to her because it's a reflection of the self that she believes she wants to be. And that's usually the one that's accepted, that's liked, and that feels comfortable. So that's that whole concept of that acceptance. And so she knows that people accept her with makeup. Therefore, she's like, this is me. So with practical authenticity, she'll recognize that she actually truly wants to be accepted without makeup. It's tiring. She doesn't want to put it on. But she knows she feels confident with it. So she'll identify why she feels uncomfortable with it. Without it, I should have said. And she'll take steps towards the goal of getting on camera and being in public without makeup. Since she's building towards her best and most authentic self. And it's an uncomfortable journey. It's always an uncomfortable journey. And I use makeup because that's a really easy one for a lot of people to understand usually, because there's a lot of people that kind of come on and be like, I feel great with makeup. There are a lot of people where I say like, go right on ahead. Like that's your thing. But I'm saying for Cassie and there's a lot of us too. And there's a lot of people out there who wish they didn't have to. I don't. I've given up on that. Pipe dream. It just takes too much time. I don't have that much time. Someone said something in the chat. Let me pull that up. Okay, it's not pulling up. Great. Let me stop sharing so I can read the chat. Me too. COVID did me that favor. Yep. And I'm not wearing makeup right now. So does anyone have any thoughts on that? Does anyone relate to Cassie?
I did, and then COVID hit, and then I was like, it's fine. I don't really care anymore. And now I can go out and like not wear makeup and I feel fine. I think like you got lazy. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, right. Just like I haven't been doing it at home and I don't want to do that anymore. It's really tiring. Yeah, I don't wear makeup. I wear makeup like once a month. But I know there's a lot of people who do. And it's up to you to kind of recognize whether that's your authentic self, whether it's like makeup just like is an art form. I like makeup. I do it for me, that whole thing. Or if you're tired of it and you're just doing it for other people. Again, that's up to you to recognize what that is. So does anyone have any questions about kind of so far? I have another example too, but the difference I'm trying to put out there.
It's funny because when you said that about makeup, I actually had a thought because I saw this post in a Facebook group. I think she was a business coach or something, that she gave the advice that on sales calls, you should always wear makeup, wear professional looking clothing. And I was like, what? I never did pajamas. I mean, I kind of get where she's coming from if this was like a real office interview of some sort, but it didn't sit right with me that she was just telling everyone to wear makeup. I never wear makeup. I've never been that kind of girl.
I think everyone's allowed to have their opinion too. Like if someone wants to be professional, like super professional and wants to look super put together all the time, and that's their image of who they are, like great. Like I've seen a lot of like coaches out there who do it and they just like they just love it. Like they love their life. They have a great time. I know a lot of people who love the process of putting on makeup. Like it drives them. And you know what? That's their thing too. And I see Jody said, she said sort of the opposite, feels uncomfortable wearing makeup, but some people are so judgy. Yeah, that is, see, that's part of the thing. Now you're fighting the opposite side of it where you're like, you're not wearing the makeup and now people are judging you. And now you're on like that path towards not having to not care. To be like, well, anyway.
That's from me now. So just flip them all off. I'm like, no, don't need your opinion. Thank you very much.
You know, thankfully no one said anything to me so far. So I'll take it for what it is. Anyway, I have another example I wrote down and I based it on YouTube because I was a YouTuber. So this is kind of my thing. So this is the one I see with a lot of people. So it's not even just YouTube people who want to be YouTubers, it's people who want to be anything else. So I'll give you an example. This girl, Hannah, she really wants to be a YouTuber and she has so many amazing ideas, but she procrastinates on all of them and doesn't know where to start. So with her standard definition of authenticity, she would probably recognize that she is a perfectionist. She may or may not decide that she's just not cut out for it. By the way, this is a real life example of someone I see. Put that out there. So she doesn't think she doesn't have the passion or skills that others have. She knows she's a perfectionist and she considers that a part of her, that like, well, that's just who I am, right? The excuses. So anything she puts out just has to be up to her standard. It just has to be. So if it's not up to her standard, she's not going to put it out. That's just who she is. And that's how she wants to live her life, apparently. But she feels like she just isn't good enough yet. So she's just going to spend all of her time studying and nitpicking at projects, but never posting because it just isn't ready yet. And this is something that happens with anyone starting a business too. Like I feel like there's a lot of people that run into this exact scenario. With practical authenticity, she will recognize that her idealism and perfectionism, the things that she feels like are a part of her and are at that current time, are holding her back from who she wants to be. She'll take those uncomfortable steps to break past the piece of her rather than making excuses being like, oh, it's just my perfectionism. Like, that's just who I am. It has to be this way. She's going to be like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm going to take the uncomfortable steps to actually put something out there because that is what's going to get me to where I want to be. And so that's the whole, she's going to discredit her own excuses. She's going to get disciplined, even if it feels uncomfortable. That's just another example of practical authenticity because it does require you in some way. And this is something that's going to be, we'll get there. It does require you, this whole authenticity thing and being your best self. You're going to have to invalidate yourself at some point, invalidate something that's going on inside, not invalidate your whole self, but invalidate a piece of it to grow, because growth means change, and change means something about you isn't going to be what it was. So you got to invalidate that piece. You got to figure out like, what's the thing that needs to change? Now I got to invalidate that thing. I got to be like, nope, you're dumb. You're stupid. I like to just call it by, your imposter syndrome, your ego, whatever it is, all that stuff I don't want to be goes in that little corner. And I'm just like, no to you. I gave my ego a name. His name is Devin. It was my ex-boyfriend. So every time he comes up, I'm like, fuck you, Devin. Yes, I do that. I've also named my imposter syndrome Donald, so I can tell him to fuck off as well. I hope you all can do something like that. It's a lot of fun when you give names to the things that you don't like in you, but like, not like, here's the thing, be a little careful. Like, I don't want you to be mean to yourself, but there are pieces of you that you do, and you're going to know what pieces of you need to be like, fuck you, go away, you suck. So that's what I do. And personally, it works for me because it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh when I'm just like, fuck off, Donald, I'm trying to work here. So just a fun little mindset trick for everyone. I know there's a couple people who are in my mastermind that actually started doing that. So I hope you all can do that. Does anyone else do something similar? By any chance? No? Okay. It's just me. I do recommend trying it out though. We're going to go back. Any questions before I go back to sharing the screen? Anyone have any questions about any of that? Or any thoughts that kind of came to mind? And see, Keisha, I just saw you wrote that. I love makeup, but also don't love wearing it. Do you just love that the makeup makes you feel good? Or like, does it
It's more of an art thing for me. Like, I love creative makeup. I had, ironically, a YouTube channel for makeup and like a beauty Instagram, but I just kind of got burnt out on it because COVID. And but yeah, it's really just an art thing for me, and I'll wear it to work every now and then, but it's not like a confidence. I mean, it is a confidence booster, but it's not like I need to wear makeup today because
I don't think, again, it's not, I'm not saying makeup's a bad thing. It's just more of recognizing like, what does it mean to you? Because for me, I kind of realized, I'm like, look, I just don't like wearing it. I like it if someone else puts it on me. If someone else does my makeup for me, great. If I have to do it, I don't want to spend that. I don't want to do it. Just don't. So I don't. I've gone out to clubs, to bars, to all that fun stuff adult without makeup just because I was lazy, but in a good way. It made my getting ready thing a lot easier. It took like 10 minutes. But again, that's authenticity to me. And I really prize just like I wanted to go out and just sweat and dance. Like I wanted to dance and I'm like, I'm going to sweat. All the makeup's going to come off, whatever. And that was me. So just recognizing what all these things mean to you. And again, this all plays really nicely into business and we will get to that. But knowing yourself and who you want to be is super important. All right, who you are versus who you are not. So this is kind of the first step on the practical authenticity journey. So, and I really, really want to emphasize this who you are not thing, because that's going to be really, really important for everyone to maybe journal on or think about. So again, if you want to achieve your best self, you have to know who you aren't, because we can't be everything. We can't be all the good things. It's just how it is. Like maybe like, and this comes like into like, I wanted to be like a famous YouTuber and a singer and a this and a that. And I wanted to be a really good person and give all my money away to charity. And I wanted to be an adventurer and travel around the world. And at some point you have to stop yourself and be like, is all of that even possible together? Maybe it is down the line, but I can't do all of it at once. I just can't do all of that at once. So something I personally do is I have kind of my like, this is what I'm doing right now. And these are the things I put to the side. Like I want to eventually learn how to bake, but right now it's just not that time. Like I want to be a great cook and a great baker, but like now is just not the time. I'm just not going to be that person right now. Maybe when I'm 40, but we'll see. So I put that one to the side. And then there's other things that I just decided like, it's just not me. And I don't want to put the effort in to do it. I just don't. So this is kind of one of these things where I did kind of the who I am, wow, versus who I'm not. So I'm careful and considerate. I'm not really a big thrill seeker or risk taker. It's just, I don't go and jump gung-ho, off of cliffs or anything like that. It's just not who I am. I wanted to be at one point. It's not who I am. I consider myself like a hobby musician. I like playing piano, but I'm not an aspiring pianist, right? Who chatted? Someone chatted something. Let me see if it'll actually pop up for me. Naturally, it will not. Give me a second. I'm kind of distracted by your cat, Jody. Oh my God.
Jody's cat.
I was trying to see I don't know why it's not showing me the chat when I share my screen.
It was me. I'm so distracted right now.
Jody's cat is right there. We're fine. I'm not a cat lady. I'm gonna put that out there. I'm sorry.
I'm a dog person as well. Don't worry about it.
I do consider myself a perfectionist. Something I am currently working myself out of. That is an uncomfortable journey. I'm not really a great planner organizer. I tried to pretend I was. I'm really not. It's all a mess. It turns out to be a mess, which is why I ask people to help me. And this is just all these things. These are the kinds of things you should be kind of writing down, being like, I am this. I'm not really this, unfortunately. This is something else that I took a long time for me to actually accept, is I'm not a great listener. I try. I'm working on it. It's something I would like to be a part of me. But I'm just not right now. I unfortunately tend to zone out. These are the things you have to kind of understand about yourself, right? You have to accept certain things that you're like, okay, this is not a great thing, maybe. And I'd like to fix it. Stuff like that. Another thing I had to accept is I'm just not a social butterfly. I just don't want to go to a lot of parties. I don't want to go hang out with a lot of people all the time. I like my alone time. I'm a hermit. I'm literally a hermit for most of the time. Yeah. Some who can relate. Not all of us, but some of us can. Yeah, there you go. Literally a hermit. I could go without seeing people for like a week or two and be like, I'm great. But again, something you accept about yourself.
Cat lady.
Yeah, see, I'm not a cat person, but I'm a hermit. So
Neither, but I aspire to be the lady of The Simpsons. So
oh, there you go.
no.
But my homework for you guys all is to kind of write something down like this, and really dig into like the things you're not. Like, I'm not talking, say, like, I'm not mean. Like, I'm talking like really dig into the things that you're not, that maybe you thought you were or really want to be and don't want to admit it. That's the kind of stuff you want to be figuring out over here. And then also figure out which of the stuff you're just like, well, that's not going to be me. I'll just hire someone to take care of that, or like someone else can do that side of it for me. And then also highlight the stuff where like, I want to change that. I want to be that. So that's the importance of this part. And also knowing who you are, of course. So, bam. And I'm going to also later, when we're all kind of talking, I'm going to kind of get some of you all to maybe share some of that with me. So if you have any, so start writing some of that down maybe, or think of something you can share. All right, step 2 is the how have you grown part. So that's looking at the past, right? And I just realized I don't think this is centered, and that really bothers me. Anyway, hope that doesn't bother anyone else. But yeah, you're basically going to consider who you were before. So who were you at when you were 5? And then how have you changed or grown since then? And again, the idea is identifying it helps you see how you can grow. Because sometimes seeing the proof that change has happened is the easiest way for you to understand that, yes, I can also continue to change. Because I know there's some things like, for example, if you say you want to be a 6-figure, you want to be a 6-figure VA, you want to be earning 6 figures, right? That can be hard to see. Like, you can be like, okay, that just seems so far off, until you look back and see that change has happened in your life. You have been able to grow things, to create things, to do all sorts of things. And when you look at that, it makes it a lot easier to be like, oh, well, this can happen because I've done it before. I've done something else before. I can do it now. Any questions about any of these steps so far? I think someone had in the chat, and again, it's not, I'm going to give it another second or two to see if it'll actually pop up before I stop sharing. No, it's not going to. Great. I will look at the chat in a second. And then step 3 is the who do you want to be? And this is my favorite part of it, because this is the vision part of things. This is the side of you that's considering, like, what is the vision for my life in the future? Who am I going to be? So consider these questions like, who is your 7-figure self? You've probably heard a million other people say this, but yes, who is your 7-figure self? Who is the side that yourself that is a millionaire, right? What do they act like? What do they look like? If you ever think about the future in your head, you probably know this person. You're probably like, oh yes, she does this, she does that. And start identifying that and identifying which ones you need to work towards. So like for me, it's a lot of like, oh, like she, for example, like, oh, she doesn't care what people think. She posts her controversial opinions all the time. That's something I don't do a lot of, and I want to do more of. Being like, I want to post my controversial opinions and not care if someone disagrees with them. What characteristics does she have? Same thing. And what will you have to let go of in order to become her? And that's the whole, who you are versus who you're not thing, and identifying which things you want to pick and choose out and swap out, basically. So you have to think, so for example, for me, I got to let go of perfectionism. It has to be gone. I got to let go of this ideal vision in my head of what something's going to be. And I just have to do things so that I can get to the point where my ideals actually might come true. So that's what I have to let go of in order to become my 7-figure self. And that's really important to understand, because that's part of you identifying the steps you're going to take to go forward and be your most authentic self and your best self as well. Because there's always something to let go of. There's always a roadblock. There's always something you got to figure out. How am I going to not be that? So any questions on any of that so far? Any thoughts anyone was having? Any aha moments, breakthroughs?
I think the envisioning part, what you're speaking about is very true. I mean, you have to kind of start, even if you're not there, you have to show up as that elevated part of yourself every day. And okay, so who is the 7-figure business owner? Well, she's confident, she's unapologetic. Well, then you got to start showing up like that, because that kind of speaks to the universe, and the universe will give you that energy back. Oh, I mean, that's my belief.
Exactly. And when you consciously start showing up as that person, you're also recognizing, like, you're going to recognize the like what's uncomfortable about it. And I personally, like, whenever I do something that feels mildly uncomfortable for me, like I'm trying to be my 7-figure self, and it did feel uncomfortable and maybe felt a little bit stressful, I'll usually come afterwards and reflect on it. So after every one of these events, for example, or any of my, usually most of my calls, sales calls, all of that stuff, I'll usually write down, like, okay, what did I do well? What did I not do well? What could have been better? I write down stuff like that. And I'll usually reflect on, like, why was the thing you just did, like, great? Like, why were you, like, so great? And I just journal. I write down all my thoughts usually on what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And it just helps you be more conscious about where you're at in the process, being like, okay, that felt really uncomfortable. I felt like I was stuttering the whole time. I felt like, I did not get the message across really well. They weren't responding. That's totally why, it's, you kind of get into that headspace, but you start to recognize, like, okay, I still have a lot of work to do here, because I see myself spiraling into this, like, wow, it was horrible. But what did I do right? Well, I got on the call in the first place. I got on the call. So that's step one. I talked, I gave my pitch. It might not have been perfect, but I did pitch. Maybe I said, the price, and I didn't try and, like, backtrack on it. Maybe I just said it and I just let them speak next, which was good. That's a good thing. And it's stuff like that you start to recognize, you're like, I'm taking steps forward. So I kind of recommend doing that for anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, stress, that you're trying to do to get better. Because then you can kind of reflect and be like, okay, this is what I did well. Awesome. Great. Took a step forward. Now let's see what I can do better next time. And that's good for pretty much anything you do. Anyone else have any thoughts? Sierra?
Yeah, so I often, like, I always say it's like checking myself, because sometimes I'll get so wrapped up into things and I see what everyone else is doing, and I also don't give a shit what anyone else is doing. So it's interesting that even though I'm not that type of person, that I still find myself caring and, like, trying to conform and getting that imposter syndrome. So I think, like, it was really cool to think about, like, who I'm not. So when I started this business, it was so hard seeing, like, all these different Instagram pages and all these different websites, and, like, how beautiful and aesthetically pleasing they were. And I'm like, well, that is really cute. And so I tried it, and I was like, and then I was like, that's not me. Like, I don't have this, like, lavish persona about me. I'm just very chill. I'm very low maintenance. So I think, like, that was part of my rebrand that we've discussed, is, like, making my brand is saying who I am and also who I'm not. So that was something that really, really helped me and my business, and my sanity.
Yeah, it does help with your sanity too, trust me. Because again, when you're feeling overwhelmed and burnt out and stressed all the time, there's usually something wrong.
Right.
Like, there's something up that you're gonna want to change, whether that's just slowing down. Yes, branding shouldn't. I know what you meant, Julie. It shouldn't be. But yeah, and this is another thing I love, because as an introvert, I love to remind other introverts, people who are also just, they don't like the social aspect of things. You can build your business around that. Like, you don't have to do everything that extroverts are doing. And that's something, like, again, you don't have to get on a ton of sales calls. You don't have to do workshops like this, which I just personally like. Even though I'm an introvert, I personally like them, at least for now. You don't have to be doing all this crazy in-person networking or whatever it might be. and you also don't have to be posting on social media all the time if that's really, really draining to you. It's building your business around who you actually are and understanding like, look, I'm not the extrovert. There's a person, I'm trying to remember what her name, I think she's called Socially Uninclined on Instagram. She's a copywriter and a copywriting coach. I would actually recommend looking her up. She's called Socially Uninclined. I think that's what it was. Let me know if someone looks it up and it was wrong. Her name's Monica. And she is basically, what she does is for introverts. Like, she built her business around being an introvert. She does not hold sales calls. She basically doesn't get on calls with people. She does everything without getting on calls. And she has a 7-figure business. Oh yeah, thank you, Julie, for putting that in there. Oh, unsocially inclined. There we go. Wrong one. I knew it was something like that. But basically, she built her whole business around being an introvert. And that's something that you can do as well, because you'll find in business, it's so easy to want to follow what everyone else is doing. And then you realize you're following a path that just doesn't align with you. It's not who you are. Even if you want to be that way, because you're like, well, it's working for them. Like, they do all this stuff. It looks so simple. If I could just be that person, everything would be great. And I know a lot of us run into that situation. Like, you see other people and you're like, why can't I just be that person? Like, why can't I just be like them? Because we're not. We're all different. Okay. We still got a little bit more to go on the slides. Let's keep going. Yeah, we're going to talk about the business. So applying it to business, this is kind of like your standard. This is honestly applying it to anything in life, frankly. But entrepreneurship is one of the best personal development tools there is. So what I mean by that is, it's not even just one of the best, it's going to force you to do it. You're not going to have a choice. So if you're unwilling to grow or let go of pieces of you, basically unwilling to grow and develop, then it's not going to work. Because again, as an entrepreneur, like, you are going to have to face these fears, these demons, your values, your everything, and you're going to have to make decisions based on them. So these are kind of my simple, like, this is what kind of you need to do to really be the most authentic, the best and most authentic you, is releasing your defense mechanisms. And I don't mean that that's going to be easy. It's more of just recognizing when they show up so you can release them. So when you all of a sudden feel defensive, when you realize you're, for example, making excuses, that's a defense mechanism. Anytime something comes up that kind of makes you feel bad or makes you retreat, usually that's some form of defense mechanism. So recognizing when it shows up and then confronting it and being like, okay, why is this showing up? How can I get past it? What can I do right now to basically take a step forward without it? Perfectionism is also a defense mechanism. Like, that's another thing. There's a lot of them. Imposter syndrome is technically a defense mechanism because it's trying to get you to stop. It's trying to get you to go back into your safe, comfort zone, which is bad. Don't do that. Again, discrediting your excuses. So when you start making excuses for yourself, it's discrediting them. And there is a fine line between, there's a fine balance between like discipline and, getting the rest you need. But inside, what your excuses are, the excuses you're going to be making to yourself, and we all make them. So you have to discredit them. You have to be like, okay, my excuse today was that, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to get up and start working at 9. I'm nervous. Like, I don't know really what I'm going to be doing today. I didn't make a plan. All this stuff might come up and you're just like, okay, I'm going to take today off. Today's my break. I'm going to take a break, which can be good in certain circumstances, but can also hold you back. So you have to work on discrediting the excuses that you're making. And when I say discredit, it's really more of arguing against it, trying to find out, like, play devil's advocate and find out if this excuse is really valid. Is it really valid? And the other thing, and this is on the other side of the coin, is validating your decisions, even if they don't work out. So validating that the choices you make were the right choices for you at the time so you could learn, regardless of how it turns out. So this one's really important because you don't want to keep looking at your failures as something like, oh, I failed, like that was bad, I should never do that again. Because there's a million other reasons why it might not have worked out. So I want you to validate every decision, not just the ones that work out, but validate, like, I made this choice before to launch this offer and it didn't work out. it didn't work out. It didn't sell. That's fine though, because now I learned that this method of launching didn't work, or this offer didn't appeal to people, or maybe I need to launch it when I have a warmer audience or something like that. So validate all those decisions, very important. And I always like, again, that's a journaling thing. You write down like why your offer is great and write it down before you even launch it. And even if something goes wrong, it's kind of like, well, it was still great for these reasons. Maybe it wasn't great for these other reasons, but it's okay because it was still great for the reasons that I wrote down here. So, and then treating your failure and success as two sides of the same coin. This is based on a on a poem that I really, really like called If by Rudyard Kipling. It's a fantastic motivational poem, by the way. Highly recommend it if you haven't read it. It's basically about balance. It has a lot to do with balance and really kind of motivates you to do the right things. But the idea is basically failure and success are two sides of the same coin. Both are steps forward. Both are good for you. So you don't want to, like, basically the way I see it is like, I will celebrate my failures just as much as I'll celebrate my successes. Like if I launch and it doesn't do as well, I'm gonna celebrate that because I still launched, versus if I launch and it does well, I'm gonna celebrate that too. And I'm gonna reflect on both of them, and I'm gonna look back at both of them and see what went right and what went wrong. And you should do that for everything you do. And then obviously getting uncomfortable. Like you're going to get uncomfortable. And that's just a natural thing. And it's going to feel wrong sometimes, because that's what imposter syndrome, perfectionism, all of your ego, all of that is going to tell you that it's wrong, which is really annoying because obviously you want something authentic to feel right. But sometimes at first, when you're first working towards it, it can feel a little wrong. And you're going to get uncomfortable. And yes, you're going to reevaluate and sometimes be like, okay, you know what? I took this step forward. I don't actually think this is me. Versus you'll take a step forward and be like, okay, that was really uncomfortable, but I think I need to keep taking these steps because this is still my goal. Like I still want to get there. So I'm going to keep doing this. Any questions on any of this? Any thoughts? Okay, moving forward. So this is kind of on a similar note, but building an authentic business, it's really not just about like posting your thoughts and opinions and all of that other stuff. There's a lot of things that come into building an authentic business. So first thing, like we talked about, is calling out the mindset blocks that keep you from being authentic and developing steps to overcome them. And this doesn't necessarily mean writing like step 1, step 2, step 3, this is what I'm going to do. It's again, more of recognizing like, this is a block. I have this imposter syndrome block. Okay, so because imposter syndrome is here, I'm going to journal for 5 minutes every day on why I'm a good VA or something like that. It doesn't mean that particular step's going to work for everyone, but it's a step to move forward and try and break past imposter syndrome. Or I'm going to get on 3 sales calls this week. I'm going to schedule 3 sales calls. And like, even though like imposter syndrome in my head, like I'm decided I'm going to schedule 3 sales calls. I'm going to make that my goal. And that's kind of a step towards overcoming it in that person's mind. So that's how it should always be. When you have a mindset block that's in your way, instead of making excuses for yourself and taking time to really like, to wallow on it, really, it's the way I like to think about it. It's kind of like wallowing in self-pity. You make steps, like make a quick plan. It doesn't have to be drastic. It can just be a little small. While your cat is really distracting. I keep seeing it. Yeah, next thing is taking action before you're ready. And that is super, super important because everyone thinks like, I gotta be myself in order to, show myself authentically in business. Always take action before you're ready because, and you've probably heard this a million times too, you're never going to be ready. It's just not going to happen. You're never going to feel like you're ready because that little voice in you, that thing you're trying to get to go away, is always going to tell you you're not ready, even when you are. So the truth is you probably are ready. You just don't realize it or don't accept it yet. So don't let everything in your business happen just in your head. Take some form of action. Always, whenever you develop steps to do something, always make it something where you're taking an action, even if it's just writing something down. Because, and I always talk about this, like we keep things in our head, if you put it into the physical world, that's the first step towards making it real, because now it's physical. Now it's out of your head and on paper, or on your phone, whatever that might be. I prefer paper though. And another thing is, don't just pretend to be the person you want to be. Start living as the person that you want to be. So it's not just like every time you're in front of people acting like that person. Act like that person even when you're by yourself. Like, it's not just about pretending in front of other people and then when you're by yourself being like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna not be that person anymore, because that's inauthentic. Like, that's you pretending, and that's gonna stress you out. You have to start living it all the time, and that's gonna make you uncomfortable, but it's a good thing. It will be a good thing. And maybe you'll realize it isn't you. Again, like me with the extrovert thing, being like, okay, I'm not the person that hops on endless networking calls and group calls and all this stuff. So I had to scale that back, because I decided, look, not me. It's literally not me. I can't keep pretending that it is. So again, give yourself the chance to fail. That's the taking action before you're ready. Like, sometimes there have been times I've had to go in and be like, you know what, not a great mindset, but you know what, I think this might fail, but you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. And it didn't fail, by the way. I should probably mention that. You don't want to go in with that mindset, but sometimes you have to give yourself the chance to fail, because then you realize what that feels like, right? Then you realize what it feels like to have someone reject you in the DMs, or to, get on a sales call and they say no, or to launch something and no one wants it, or to post a controversial opinion and no one agrees with you. Like, give yourself the chance to experience that, because oftentimes you're going to realize it's not as bad as you think. Sometimes it can feel a little bit bad, but oftentimes it's not as bad as you think. And even if it is, the more you experience it, the less you care. Let's be frank. The more it happens, the less you care. I'm trying to see who put that. Discovery calls make me uncomfortable. Yep. Discovery calls make us all uncomfortable. And again, I'm going to put it out there, like, it's one of those things that in the beginning are kind of necessary to get clients, but you could easily build the business where you don't have to get on discovery calls for people to hire you. You don't have to. You could build a business where all they do is fill out a form, and then like you send them the necessary materials. Like they have a comprehensive form that, like, that's the information you would collect on the call, which you should have anyway, by the way, if you do discovery calls. And then you just send them the information and they say yes or no. You could do it that way. People will always recommend discovery calls because it's face-to-face and you can usually more easily convince people, but not all of us have that ability right now. And not all of us want to do that. Some of us might be more persuasive in an email. You can do that. Introverts also look at Emmy Kissinish's videos for discovery calls. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've actually thought of like the idea of being like just like pre-recording like a video. Yeah, talking on the phone makes me uncomfortable. Face-to-face is better, but not by much. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of true. I hate talking on the phone. I refuse. I refuse. I don't answer phone calls from people ever. I will call them when I feel like it, which is fine. That's again, it's something that you admit to yourself. And I've decided that I don't care if I'm that person. But yeah, definitely, like, you kind of decide how you want to build your business. You think that you need to be getting on these discovery calls and that's going to help build it. I do think it's kind of good for you to try more, like try some of them. Because I thought I wasn't going to be doing that. And now I'm like, I actually like discovery calls now, because I just chat with people. And then at the end, I'm like, yeah, here's the thing we're going to talk about. And it works out well. Something else to keep in mind. Yeah, and then obviously the identifying what actions align and don't align with your best self outside of expectation, and follow that. So again, for me, that requires some journaling and thought of being like, okay, this is an action I want to do, but is that something that's expected of me, or is something I really want to do? And that's something to consider with discovery calls, right? Is being like, is that just something that's expected of me, or is that something I really want to be doing? Do I want to build a business where I don't have to get on discovery calls? Can I do that? Oh, look, someone else has done that. Okay, so it's possible. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people I do think discovery calls help you build your business quicker because you can usually get clients better that way. I could be wrong. Like, it doesn't have to be necessary. A lot of people build businesses without getting on a call.
I actually have like just 2 cents on that part.
Yeah.
Because Something that I am working on at the moment, even as an introvert myself, I really hate getting on discovery calls. And I'm working on creating a strategy that will allow people to sell in the DMs. Because today, when we have something like voice messages and we can send video messages, it's not necessary as such to get on a discovery call. It's only if you feel like you want to get to know that person better, but you don't have to actually sell on a call. You can do it in the DMs, and I highly recommend using voice messages because that's just something that yeah, and Dom loves it too. It's just something that helps you kind of hear who is behind the text as well, which is also why it's easier, and it does become easier to sell in the DMs. You go back and forth, you figure out what the needs are, and you just offer them what you have. And if they do want to get on a call, you kind of already know, well, they're interested, right? So you get on the call, but you can get them, you can take your potential clients to the point where they're ready to buy in the DMs. That was just my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like you don't, I'm just putting that, I'm like, you're going to hear a million different things from other coaches, but I personally think you don't actually have to get on discovery calls. And I recently learned this from one of my mastermind sisters who I'm with. And I, for my mastermind launch, got on discovery calls, but then she had her own group program she was doing for something completely different. And she launched and filled up her spaces without getting on a single discovery call. You don't have to. You really don't have to. It's entirely possible. And we were talking like a several $1,000 commitment, like a few $1,000 commitment. I think it was like $3,000, not getting on a discovery call. Because she was able to build a strategy that worked for that. She had a process that worked, and people wanted, like, were sold basically before they even had to get on a call. So absolutely doable. And I do think it's good, by the way, for VAs too, because a lot of people wanting VAs actually, we'll get to this in a second, but actually usually already sold before they get on a lot of times. Let's be honest. They're usually searching for something specific and they go to someone that they like, and that's usually how it is. So you can probably make it work. Anyway, just a little added note. This is kind of the end of the presentation. We're just going to kind of chat, and I'm going to have you guys share some things and all of that, and ask questions. But I do now have a membership under the same, baller branding as my mastermind. So I got a lot of feedback from people that they just don't have a ton of money. So this membership is meant to give you value. So there's a training every month, and there are 2 live Q&As every month, and a guided meditation recording. I make my own guided meditation recordings every month, and that will be included, as well as access to all past, like all of them as replays in a Facebook group, which you'll be able to also ask questions in. So this right now at the current moment is going to be $65 a month. So anyone who's in my mastermind, by the way, is already included in all of this. So just so you know, you're going to have access to this. So that's great. But if you're not, and would really like some extra support from other people, from myself in the Facebook group, from Q&As, from, monthly trainings, I will actually in here, I'm going to copy the link. So you can kind of check out a little bit more information on it if you're interested. Well, here we go. Perfect. Took me a second to pull that up. But I also have started writing down what the upcoming trainings are going to be. So if you're interested in that, you want to know what the trainings are going to be, then that information's in that link as well that I put in the chat. But that's what this is going to look like. The price is, I'm not launching this officially until January 1st. So you guys are the first to hear about it. And the people who are on the email list as well, I'm the first to hear about it. And you're not going to hear about it until January. No one else is going to hear about it until January 1st, because I do want to take limited spots to start, just because this is the first time this is launching, and it's going to be changing over time. But if you sign up now, $65 is going to be the lifetime price. The regular price is $80 a month. And it will probably go up as I add more and more value, But it's gonna be $65 lifetime price if you were to sign up now or before January 15th. I will officially launch later. But Julie, your dog is so cute. Oh yeah, Archer. We do love Archer. Anyway, put that out there. If you're interested, the link is in the chat. But I did want to we do have a good like half an hour-ish left. So I do want to open the floor. First of all, for people to share maybe their thoughts on if they started journaling on who they are versus who they are not, if they have anything to share on that. I like to see if people have come up with any things like that. Anyone want to share their thoughts? I was going to start calling on people. I'm that teacher.
I'll go.
Okay.
Ooh, I myself don't journal currently about things. Obviously very much agree with everything that you say, like you need to start manifesting who you want to be and start acting on it. I think when I was younger, I had a couple of therapists and like I went through so many different like activities that they gave me that I think when I came out of it, I was like, no, like I've had to do this as a chore. Like I don't want to do it now. But my sister recently has started doing what she calls a magic morning. And she sits down every morning and she writes down like 3 things that she's grateful for. And then she writes 3 sentences on like, this is like almost like what she wants to achieve, but writing it as if it's already happened. So like, I've done this.
Manifestations, yeah.
She absolutely swears by it now, so much so that the other morning her alarm didn't go off and she woke up late, or she had a bad night the night before and she didn't do her magic morning, and then later on in the day she stood on her iPad and she broke her screen and she's like, because I didn't do my magic morning, I didn't tell her what I was grateful for. That's why I've had a bad day, because I didn't manifest my good day. And she's like so believes it now that she does it every day, and every day she convinces herself that she's had an absolutely great day, and the one day that she didn't and a little inconvenience happened, she was like, oh my god, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing though. Maybe I'll start doing that. I love she's basically manifesting. She's saying, I've already done this thing. So if you say you've already done it, then you got to do it.
Exactly. But like if that's for her, like she does it every morning, and she manifests this positive energy, like she says, and like bad things and like inconvenient and nuisances will happen throughout the day, but they don't affect her as much, she thinks now. But like as soon as she didn't do it, and there was, like I say, she stood on the iPad, and then I think something happened at work, like an appointment was cancelled or something, and she said that she got herself so frustrated with it because she didn't do her magic morning and manifest her good day. She's like, believe that happened 100%. But it's great, because if she's getting all this positive energy from it, and it's having a positive effect on her mindset and how she sees things, then fab. So I definitely need to get myself into doing that again and realize that it's not a chore.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. That's an easy way to journal in the morning too. It's like a very simple, like write 3 things you're grateful for and write down like 3 things you're going to do today, and write them as if you've done them. And I always love the magic number 3. I do that for my tasks too. I'll usually be like, I got 3 tasks. Everything else outside of that is optional. 3 tasks. That's how I kind of do my tasks too on my little planner that I put together. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. I hope someone else, does anyone else like that? Or maybe you're going to start doing that, Sierra?
Yeah, I definitely, sorry, I was like super excited, so I didn't want to.
Go ahead.
So first of all, Magic Mornings is so funny. That's so cute. But look into, this is like they have it on Netflix. It's called The Secret. There's also a book, but there's a whole, maybe science isn't the right word, but there's a whole research of manifesting. And so The Secret is like a movie on Netflix, and it's very cheesy because it was filmed a while ago. But if you kind of really just listen to the content, there's a lot of like manifesting. So what you put out in the world is exactly what you're going to get back. And that shows like the people you hang out with, the energy you give out, the positivity. And, if you're just constantly telling yourself like you're not going to do it, that's going to happen. And you're like allowed to be human and get upset. I'm not saying like you have to be positive and like let positive flow out your ass all day, but it just comes down to like, yeah, like shit is hard, but like, what are we going to learn from it and things like that. So I recently started journaling myself, and I've been trying to do it. I am always all over the place with my schedule, and I actually was writing my content earlier, and something I wanted to touch base on with the new year coming is setting time for yourself, and like how I talked about earlier, like nurturing that foundation. So I think that I'm going to try to set more time. I only do my journals for like 5 minutes, but like even setting that like 5 minutes to myself is just so nice to like start my day. And then I have a gratitude bucket that I got, like a little mini trash can from the dollar store. And every night I take a sticky note, I write what I'm thankful for, and I throw it in the trash can. And then I would look at it at the year whenever it's full. But I think there's just like a lot of things that we're so hard on ourselves for, and that's so easy to be hard on yourself rather than like, you know what? Fuck yeah, you did that. Like, you know what? I am great. So definitely like taking that that time to criticize yourself, but also give yourself the pat on the back.
Yeah, I love that. I also love all the sharing of apps and stuff in the chat. If anyone has been missing that, there's people are sharing their favorite apps and stuff like that. Feel free to share yours as well. If you have
the law of
any.
attraction. That's what it is. That's what
Yeah, the law of attraction. Oh, love it. Love the law of attraction. Thank you so much for sharing that too. We love the law of attraction. And I know it can seem like this kind of hippy dippy thing for some people. I know there's a lot of people who've been like, what do you mean by law of it? Like, how do you just manifest something? And sometimes it's, until you do it, it doesn't make sense. So the only thing I would recommend if you're like unsure of how it all works is to really start to journal and write down, like, I'm going to do this. This is going to happen. Vision boards, like all that stuff. And when you start believing it is when it starts happening. And part of the practical reason for that is that, first of all, you're in a better mindset, you're more positive. So you're doing more of the things that you want to be doing and should be doing. So you're taking action. So people are getting that energy from you, and it all comes together. Again, practical reasons for it is all of that. People can pick up on energy from a mile away, even if you don't realize it. Mantra is a great app. I love Mantra. Oh, that's freaking awesome. Thank you guys for sharing all of that. Anyone else want to share things? Kayla and Katie, you guys have any thoughts? We didn't get to hear you introduce yourself too.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
Katie.
I mean, I love everyone talking about like the meditation and journaling. I'm a big believer in like that just kind of helps with your inner critic, your motivation, relieving stress. And like I had mentioned, the Insight Timer app, for people who are just starting, they have a lot of stuff just talking in general about how to get started, what it's good for. There's affirmations, meditations. They have free yoga courses that you can do with like a class and other stuff. And I think it's just good to get in like a routine for like just being in business. Like it's good to have like a routine of whether it be self-care or posting, or like you said, having 3 things a day or like tasks to accomplish in a day.
Yeah, some form of routine. Doesn't have to be perfect or look like someone else's, just something that kind of, you can achieve every day is the way I look at it. Because the way I see it is, if I have a routine, it's like, okay, well, I've stretched, I did my daily meditation, I did task XYZ. If I do nothing else, I've done that. I've done something. And it gets easier and easier the more you do it. And it's not easy to stick to routines, let's be honest. Like, I still haven't figured out the workout routine side of things. That side's been falling off the track, but all a process. It's all a process. Self-care is the best care. Another thing with yes. Oh, I love that. Sierra, thank you for sharing that, the you deserve it thing. I think that is a big issue that I think a lot of people have. I've certainly had this issue too, where you hear these meditations, you hear these affirmations, and you're like, oh, I would love to deserve that, but I don't feel like I do right now. And that's not usually the exact thought going through your head. Like, a lot of people aren't really conscious of it. But who here has kind of struggled with that thought of feeling like you just don't deserve success? Yep. Maybe you don't deserve to get the clients. You don't, like, and I'm gonna put it out there that a lot of that is that imposter syndrome and perfectionism, right? Yes. A lot of it is just that, because like you think you're not perfect yet. So why would you deserve to get the clients you want to get? Why would you deserve to have this business when someone else, doesn't? What did it say? Gratitude. Oh yeah, also gratitude. Oh yeah, I like using that one personally, because when I feel thankful for the growth I've had, for the people around me, it all of a sudden makes you realize, oh wow, I actually have quite a lot going for me. I just personally like that one because it's so, like, for example, for me, I'm very grateful for my family. They've been so supportive of my business. And not everyone has that. So that's something that I've been grateful for.
It's funny about the self-care thing. I've always kind of thought about it like when you're on a flight, the flight attendants always tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you even help your kid. Because if you don't do that, you might not be able to help your kid. And I see self-care as the same thing, because if you don't take care of yourself, there will be a point where you will burn out and you won't be able to take care of your kids or your family. I mean, I think everyone is going to experience that at some point in their life. They may get to 60 before they experience it, but everyone will. And everyone will be at a point where, okay, so it's actually, I need to take care of myself. And that's just as important as taking care of our kids, right? So yeah.
I love that. And especially in businesses where we're all working with other people and trying to help other people. How can you help them if you're not helping yourself? You're just going to burn out.
Especially when you're working with social media, you're working on social media for hours. Right now I'm working with 5 different clients and I'm spending like somewhere between 5 to 6 hours on social media every day. If I don't take a break, I'm going to shut down. So I need to take care of myself. And I need to not be on my phone when I wake up and before I go to bed. That's just something not being on my phone right when I wake up, it has been a lifesaver, because you don't get that bombardment of information and people like, oh, I'm here. Look how I'm doing. Like,
while we're talking about self-care, by the way, this is one that my coach has gotten me to do, and I hate it, but I'm gonna love it. Is this whole thing where I go to bed with my phone next to me, right? And she told me to keep it out of my room. I didn't do that. And I told her, I'm like, I've been failing at this. Like, I'm trying to keep it out of my room at night, but I'm not doing it well. So she told me, she's like, oh, well, you said you live with someone, right? Have them hold it for you. And I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a fight. Which there has been, but I've been doing it. So now my mother's here, and every night she's like, hand it over and hand over my phone. And I don't get to see it, at least for the time being, until I figure out how to manage it on my own.
It's a good
but
practice.
It is actually a good practice, because like I was the person that would wake up right in the morning, get on Instagram. Even with the screen time, like I tried to block apps, it lets you bypass them. So I figured that out really quickly. I would get up in the middle of the night and answer DMs. I would, just this whole slew of things that I should not have been doing. So now, from like 9 p.m. to like 9 a.m., my phone is out away from me, which sucks because I want to listen to music, but it's okay. I can deal with it. Yeah, the worst part is I want to listen to music and watch YouTube. But again, I kind of like, okay, well, now what do I do? So I've been practicing tarot. I've been singing karaoke because I can, which my sister's probably annoyed with. I have been like just journaling. I've just been writing. I realized I could go do things on my computer, which is probably a bad thing. I'll have to figure that one out. But it's stuff like that. So I know it's a tough one to do, as I've proof of that I could not do it without someone taking it from me. But I do highly recommend trying the whole phone thing, especially if you're the kind of person that finds yourself stuck to your phone or computer for long periods of time. I was up to like 8 hours, 9 hours a day on my phone for screen time, which is not good. It's not good. Does anyone else check their screen time app and know how long they spend on their phone? Is it bad too? Is it pretty bad?
Mine, when starting my VA page, said that like I spend like 10 hours a day on like my phone.
I was up there before, right? And I love when you look it up and they're all like, oh, the people spend on average like 2 hours a day on social media. And I was like, that's bad.
So I I only have it so that it comes in like every Sunday morning, but even that is so, oh gosh.
Yep. Yeah. So, try the keeping it out of your room thing at night if you don't already do that. It's not as easy as it seems, but it is helpful. Yeah. Oh, did Julie leave? Yeah, she did. I just saw that. Oh no, Julie hasn't left yet. She's leaving now. There we go. Yeah, so that's, I guess, what we're talking about, self-care. That's the thing. But does anyone have any questions on authenticity, how to build their authentic business, anything that they're still confused about or need personal help with? Anyone has any questions at all? I am here to answer them for the next 20 minutes. Or just any questions about your businesses too. Like you have me for 20 minutes, so feel free to ask. Erica, Keisha, we haven't heard as much from you two, and Gabrielle. I almost say Gabriel, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep doing that. But I know you guys haven't talked as much. Do you have any questions on your end? Any questions about your businesses?
I guess one of my main problems is that I was writing over here on my little piece of paper, like what I am and what I'm not. And it's really hard for me to remain patient and because of course we have this big picture of what we want our business to be and where we want to be in like 6 months to a year. And every day I put something towards my business, like a stepping stone to build it and improve. But it's really hard for me to, like you said before, not compare myself to other people or deal with that imposter syndrome, because you want to succeed, obviously, but you just have to start from the bottom up. So it's been really hard for me to figure out what the right strategy is and what you should be focusing on and what you shouldn't be focusing on, because there's a million coaches that say a different thing every day, in terms of engagement and DMing people and showing your face on your story or how much you should post. It's you're bombarded with information.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with right now. But
yeah, I mean it's so that kind of comes to, and if anyone knows Myers-Briggs and has heard me talk about it, I love Myers-Briggs. I have a whole program dedicated to it. I've been studying it for years. And there's the whole idea of your extroverted self and your introverted self, because everyone has both of those sides. We're all a little bit of both. So what tends to happen in these situations is that we focus on the extroverted side of things because we're trying to take in information from other people, and that's considered extroverted. It's when it's your extroverted thinking, intuition, all of that stuff, where you're taking in all of this information and making all these external decisions based on what you see out here. But we sometimes forget, and this goes the other way around too, we sometimes forget to kind of take the information back in and actually sit down and make judgments on it. Actually sit down and be like, okay, so I have this information. What am I actually going to do? And what am I not going to do? And again, it's the not going to do that's important, because otherwise you're going to sit there and be like, I'm going to do all of it, or all of it's a possibility, rather than being like, you know what, this thing, I keep getting bombarded with ads about Facebook ads, all these Facebook ads about making Facebook ads. And they keep being like, you need to be doing this. You could be lying on a beach in the Bahamas, sipping martinis while everyone's buying your whatever. I'm just like, you know what? I hate Facebook ads. I don't want to do them right now. Maybe I'll do it eventually. I will have someone else do it because I don't want to learn it. So it's something like that where I'm just like, you know what? Drawing a line here. Don't want to do that. It might work at some point. It might work for someone else, but don't want to do that. So it's taking all that information, maybe write it all down. If you have freebies, organize that and start decluttering.
Yeah.
So you can figure out, okay, I'm going to focus on these few things. And my personal method for this is I write down my few goals. I'm pointing in front of me where I have my goals written out, my December goals specifically. And then I also have my big picture goals as well. And the idea being that okay, so I have these specific 3 or 4 things that I want to accomplish in a big picture. And if whatever I do this month has to align with those things, if it doesn't directly support it, it's done. So a lot of it's going to be sign this many people up for XYZ program, get the, it's usually a lot about signups, and that has to do with sales. So I'll be like, okay, you know what? Writing blog posts isn't important right now, because what I need to be doing is talking to people. What I need to be doing is DMing people and, attracting people with the right content and getting on stories. And, I'll usually specify these are the things I need to be doing, because writing this blog post, you know what? Maybe I could get lucky. but probably not. Let's be honest here, right? Or writing this email. You know what? One week I decided not to write an email because I was like, I have other more important things to focus on. This can wait. The email people on my email list are still there. Like they'll still be there next week. So, you know, it's little stuff like that of identifying like, what are my priorities? What do I need to get to? And again, your goals are going to be based on who you want to be and what you want, which is also leads into what you want your business to be and what you want your life to be. And then that that dictates, well, what do I do right now? What are the steps I can take right now, and fuck everything else. Throw it all aside for now. You can get to it later and hire someone to take care of it later. That's the way I look at it. It's like, I can hire someone to write my blog post later, whatever. I don't need to do that right now. So hopefully that was helpful.
Yes, definitely was. Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else? Erica, Keisha, Kayla, or Katie, anyone else have like questions about their business right now?
For me, it's just like being unique. Like I see all these other BAs on Instagram, and I don't want to put like the same information that they already have on my Instagrams. Yeah.
So what helps with that, and I think other people can probably chime in on this as well, but for me personally, what helps with that, first of all, is finding that niche or specialization. And I say or because, you know, when you're just starting out, it can be kind of difficult to like really, you know, actually get down to nitty gritty. So if you can figure out like, am I just a social media manager, and start there? Or if you can figure out, am I going to aim for this particular group of people? Then that's going to help you create the unique content and, you know, make a unique bio, because you're going to be able to identify a unique person you're speaking to. You know, wedding creatives have very different needs than coaches. So if you're going that way, or if you're doing social media, well, you can post like getting really nitty gritty of social media, and you don't have to worry about posting about organization. Doesn't mean you won't necessarily offer it. Just means that maybe that's like, you could offer it on the side if you wanted to. It's your business, remember. But for marketing purposes, specializing and niching helps you create that kind of really more unique content, because especially if you're passionate about it, because you're going to, and as Sierra kind of realized too, like when you find something you're passionate about, all of a sudden you're like, oh, like she's aiming at dogpreneurs, right? Like she could make all sorts of dog content, all the stuff that VAs do, but put a dog on it, and all of a sudden it's more fun. Like, right? Like when you do something like that, or if someone wants to be the do everything VA, if they brand themselves as that, that's actually kind of unique. If you actually like push that in people's faces, is like, I am this person. So really the idea is to really kind of push, like find your passion, obviously, like figure out kind of where you want to take things and who you're passionate about helping and what you actually like doing. So start, for Erica, for you, I will actually recommend write out all the tasks you might do and start like cutting out the ones that maybe you don't want to do and marking the maybe ones as well, because that's going to help you figure out, okay, well, all of this stuff that I'm saying maybe or don't want to do, maybe that's not the thing I should be offering, because clearly I'm not as confident in that. And clearly it's not something I'm probably as passionate about. And this happens a lot with people who are like, do general VA and they just add social media on top of it, but they're not social media experts. I'm going to tell you that most people probably aren't going to hire you for social media then, because they want people who are passionate about social media. Same for general. So maybe you're more into the email side of things. Maybe you're like the email expert. Maybe you're the expert at setting up Dubsado or Honeybook. Maybe like, you know, find something like that that maybe you really, really like. And it doesn't have to be you forever, but that's going to make you searchable. It's going to make you more unique. And you're going to be able to, once you like really dig into it, be like, oh, I could make more specific content to what my audience wants to see. Which again makes you stand out. So you're not just doing why I should hire a VA. Later is, I think someone just asked, how much does later cost? I think it's $9 a month, or was it $7? 9 or 7?
Well,
I think it's 9.
Yeah, the later one it's free if it's only like, I think one.
Yeah, that's right. I think
or
it's
something.
yeah, it's free if it's only like a certain amount. I have the paid version, which is like
Exactly. I
very
have
cheap.
the paid version as well, but I think if you want to be on more platforms, it's $9 a month or something like that. It's not
Yeah,
that
I just noticed people were over in the chat sharing things. Whoops. Yeah, what apps and websites people use. That's actually a really good one. Yeah, let me see what people were sharing. I do recommend if you guys are scheduling on social media to actually have a Planoly or Later or something like that. I know some people schedule right in the apps, but it just makes it so much easier. It really saves you time and it's worth it and it's not that expensive. So yeah, Tailwind's usually good for Pinterest. I do not recommend using Tailwind for other platforms only because apparently Instagram looks down on Tailwind and like I've heard rumor about that. Maybe other social media people can tell me, but I've heard rumor that Tailwind, like Instagram does not like it when you use Tailwind for it. So, use with caution. But it's great for Pinterest. I'm looking what other people are writing in here. Yeah, what other apps do people use, by the way, out of curiosity? What apps does anyone want to promote? This is a fun one. Everyone who doesn't know hashtags, this is good. I've been sharing this with literally everyone. There's an app called HishHash. And there's another, there's another similar app. I can't remember what it was called that other people actually use too. HishHash is relatively new. Basically, you can put your hashtags into categories. So everyone will, tell you to put hashtags into like hashtag sets, basically. So you can create your hashtag sets and then you can kind of shuffle them around. It won't repeat, so you cannot repeat a lot of hashtags if you don't want to, and you don't have to keep like remembering them or copying them from somewhere else. You can just do it on your phone. It's really nice, really convenient. You can search tags on it and it'll tell you how many tags are in it. Super helpful. I know that's unrelated to anything we were talking about necessarily, but I am highly recommending it because I'm finding it very helpful for me. Yeah, hashtag expert. That was the one I was thinking of. I knew it was easy. There's a lot of good ones. Awesome. So we got 10 more minutes left. Does anyone else have any questions about building authenticity in their business? Ooh, here's a fun thing too. And I did my challenge. I did this challenge with my mastermind people. So Jody's going to recognize this. I'm just going to challenge you all, and I'm not going to check up on you like I will my mastermind, but I might. Who knows? I might actually check up on you to do a live this month. this month. And I know that's something a lot of people avoid. And it's something they don't want to do because it's not like stories where you can like, be like, oh, I don't like that one. Let me try it again. You have to like actually just speak, but it doesn't have to be long, but try and get on a live. You can come with a script with talking points, whatever you want to do. I do that. And really just show your face. And that is kind of the first step to kind of getting past a little bit of that uncomfortableness of showing yourself on social media. Because as much as, some of us are introverts, some of us don't want to show our faces. In this business, you do kind of have to. You do to some extent, really kind of have to show your face and who you are, or else they're not going to hire you. So do you have to have 1,000 followers for that? For what? Someone was saying something.
Going live, I think on Instagram, you have to have 1,000 followers.
Are you kidding? That wasn't true before. Did they change it?
No, you don't have to have 1,000 followers. What you need is you need to have engaged followers, because when your followers are engaged, your live will pop up on their feed. If they are not, but it doesn't really matter if you have 1,000 or if you have 500. I mean, I went live with 300 people and about 20 people showed up. So.
Yeah, it's also finding the right time. There are going to be times you're going to go live and no one's going to show up, or someone shows up and pops out. It's totally fine. The good thing is you can post the live to IGTV so people can see it later. That's additional content that you didn't have to schedule, didn't have to write about. You just did it. So that also helps with that content side of things. If there's a day that you're like, oh, I haven't posted in like a couple days, let's do a live. Super easy. It'll post there for me. Yeah. And that's the other thing that I love that feature, Sierra. That's actually a fun way to see who's active at that time. When you start a live, it tells you how many of your followers are active at that current moment. So yeah, which is actually kind of a fun gauge. Sometimes I just go in to check and see who's active right then, just so I can kind of compare it with my insights and see if they're kind of like actually accurate. Because I've recently discovered that I have more people active at like 4 p.m. even though my insights are not reflecting that. Really strange. 4 p.m. my time. but yeah, go on a live to talk. Yeah, like Gabriel was saying, I almost said Gabrielle. I don't know why I keep saying Gabriel. Yeah, going on live to talk about something your knowledge and passionate about is really good. You want to position yourself as an expert on something. That's again why it's also good to specialize, because it kind of gets people who want that specific knowledge to come to you. And like I was saying before, like I talked to someone who she wants to brand herself as like the do everything VA, and that's fine. Like if that's you, that can be you. You just have to be really strategic about how you're then branding yourself. You have to be like, okay, this is might make me less searchable, but I think I know people who are gonna need this. I just have to make sure I brand myself as this person so they can find me. Giving yourself a fun title is also helpful. I just think that makes you more, it makes you more searchable, makes you more unique in general. So it's not just virtual assistant, it's like virtual assistant for dogpreneurs. So that, obviously sticks out, like dog VA, you're the dog VA. Or like, again, that do everything VA, and then if you're a social media manager, lead gen specialist. I think Julie, she calls herself the no BS brand strategist or something, which is fun. Something like that. But yeah, definitely practice getting alive. I'm going to give you guys that challenge. But anyone have any other business questions or any questions about what they're doing right now, how they can show up more authentically? Want to share any thoughts? Feel free to, by the way, if you guys would actually share your takeaways either in person here or in the chat. Just your biggest takeaway from this session. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway was. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I loved it. I had I have a bunch of notes. This is also the first time I've been taking notes on my iPads because I wanted to see if I liked it. But yeah, so just a lot of like knowing who you are, that's the thing, and knowing who you're not really stuck out with me, because I have been having that issues, but in the moment, that's not you, but sometimes we just roll over that moment rather than like accepting it. Like, okay, like Sierra, that's not you. Like now what are you going to do to show who you are? So just kind of like rolling with those little moments and like learning from them. I'm very big on like making everything a lesson as well, and things like that, as well as like confronting my fears and things like that. Everyone always seems that like, or everyone always says that I seem like so confident in things, and I would consider myself, I am, but I also have so much shit I'm just scared about, and I'm worrying and I'm anxious. So it's how I can grow from that rather than being stagnant like you were talking about. So I got a lot of really good takeaways, and I'm always big on like self-constructive and self-criticism. So just like really rolling with what I can do to invest myself in my business and not stress out about it, because I'm a human.
Yeah, we're all human. Yeah, we're all going to get a little stressed. We're all going to get overwhelmed. Even when you do work on this stuff, it does come back. All the people that you admire, they struggle with it too, whether they show it or not. And then it's kind of up to you to decide, where you go from there. You get to decide that. And I love Keisha to share. She learned some great tips for journaling. That's always a fun one. And I think I've shared this before with plenty of people, and I'd like to share it again because it's one of my favorite journaling exercises for imposter syndrome. And Jody, you've probably seen this. I think I posted it for the mastermind. Is basically you find a person or 3 people that you admire and or envy. You go to them, you go to their profile, you write down 3 reasons why you admire or envy them, basically 3 reasons why you think they're better than you. And then you write down 3 reasons why you're different than them. There's a longer version of this, but this is the simple version where you identify, okay, these are my beliefs about why they're better than me. And these are my beliefs now about how I am different from them. And ultimately, those are the things that make you better than them, quote unquote, better than them. It's the way I like to look at it. And you do this for the other people. And I do this all the time. Like every so often I'll get that imposter syndrome and I'll realize I'm comparing myself to someone, and I'll go in and be like, okay, why am I comparing myself to them? What's the problem here? But you know what? I do this thing while they do that thing. And, I don't want to do that thing. Like, I think this thing's better. Or I think I have more fun, like, and more authentic than them. Or And that just gets you to realize like, oh, wait, I'm actually different than them. Like we're not the same people. We're not on the same path. Why am I comparing myself to them? Because I have things about me that are also better than them in the way that I see things that they're better at. So always helpful. Work on your inner Hannah and Carrie. I'm actually surprised you remembered those names because I almost didn't know what you were talking about for a moment. I almost forgot the own names I used. Yeah, work on your inner Hannah and Carrie. Do people want the slides, by the way? Want me to send the slides in a follow-up email? So, yeah, because I can do that. Actually, yes, I will send the slides in a follow-up email then. And for anyone who wasn't at the last one and didn't get it, does anyone want my ideal client freebie? It basically helps walk you through ideal clients and market research. It's my freebie that I offer. And I'd like to send it to you if you don't have it. If you want that, write freebie in the chat. And I can send that to you. What did Erica say? Erica said, I really liked that specifying who, yes. Really like that specifying who you are would also help with your niche and business. Yeah, I mean, it all connects with each other, right? Like it's this top-down approach, really. And there's a top-down approach to a lot of things in life. You kind of have to, when you're building a business, especially when you're the business, it is about you because you are the one running the entire business and you are the one deciding what it's going to look like. So therefore, like, who you are matters and who you are not also matters. So all of your fears and doubts will translate into the business unless you start to work on them. Again, especially because you are the business right now. So I like, that's the top-down approach to everything in life, by the way. Who else had a biggest takeaway?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
We talked about briefly about feeling like what was it we talked about? I think it was Gabrielle that talked about feeling a bit overwhelmed with where you are and maybe even feeling like at the point sometimes you want to give up because you're not really seeing any results with what you're doing and you don't know what to prioritize, basically. And even just 3 months ago, I was at that same place because I was trying to do everything. I was trying to write the blog post. I was trying to write the post for social media. And then what Domi said about sitting down and figuring out what are the most important tasks right now. Those tasks for you is to get clients, which means that you need to be engaging with people. You need to network with people. And you need to find your ideal clients, start talking to them, start figuring out what they need and if they need your services. And everything else can wait. Right now, that's basically your most important task. It's engaging and networking. And you can do that without going on calls with people. You can just talk to people in the DMs. Just something, a great way to start a conversation is to go through their stories. Go through an ideal client stories, or something that has worked very well for me as well is to get into the DMs, connect with them, and say, "Hi, name. I hope it's okay that I reach out, say hello, and get to know you better. I would love to know more about you. What is something that you love doing when you're not working?" That way, you start talking about interest and hobbies and you get started that way. You figure out what's something you have in common and you can get the conversation started that way. So I hope that's helpful.
Yes, that's so helpful. Just because like we all work in like the virtual space, so we're always so worried about like what our image is, like how do we keep up with our content, like how are we presenting ourselves, like oh my god, I'm so worried about like how others perceive me. But really the whole reason why we go into this is to connect with other people and help other people with their businesses so we can all succeed. So that's a great point. I really should just buckle down and focus on like the DM and like the connection part of it, because that's how everything else will fall into place after that.
The most important thing, don't give up. I was ready to give up after 4 months of not, well, I mean, I worked for 4 months for free. Basically, I didn't get any money for 4 months. And I was like, well, I can't keep doing this. But so many new business owners give up right before they get their first client. Don't do that. Keep going and focus on what is important. Wait with the blog writing quit the social media post, focus on the important things, which is engaging.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Sarah.
You are very welcome. And feel free to any one of you here, if you have any questions about how to talk to people in the DMs, feel free to connect with me on Instagram and reach out to me.
She's really great. She does my engagement for anyone who missed that. She does it for me, so I don't have to do it. Awesome. I'm so glad you guys had that conversation. Thank you. And thank you all for also sharing all of your thoughts in the chat too. Thank you so much. I think I saw, yeah, it was how important self-reflection is what Gabrielle said. I said it right this time. Yeah, self-reflection is very important. So I'm glad that everyone's starting to kind of, and I know people know that, it can just be kind of hard to implement it. So I hope you'll all start to implement it. And I hope you're all going to kind of go out of this being like, yes, I should be, or I want to journal and think about who I am and who I'm not and who I want to be from a more, a broader perspective, because I know it's so easy to get caught up in details because that seems like the thing that's going to help us right now. Think a little more high level than that, because you're a boss. Like, you are the boss of your business. You are actually a boss. Like, it's not even an exaggeration. Like, you are actually the boss of your business. You're actually the CEO of your business. So start treating yourself like that. Start thinking about where your business is going to go, and don't think about the tiny details, even if they seem important right now, because the important stuff is going to be the more high level stuff, the things like being like, well, maybe what's going to get me clients is literally just engaging with people all day. And you know what? That might be true. That could entirely be true. And it's probably true for me. And that's probably all I should be doing. But start thinking about things like that. And thank you, Jody, for gracing us with your cat. This is great. It kept distracting me during the presentation. I kept trying to talk and being like, if there's a cat, it's really cute, actually. But thank you all for joining. And yeah, I'll be in here for just a little bit longer if you want to stick around, but otherwise I will be sending a replay afterwards. I'm actually going to stop the recording now.